Hi, it's Patrik here from Intensive Care at Home, where we provide tailor-made solutions for long-term ventilated adults and children with tracheostomies, and where we also provide tailor-made solutions for hospitals and intensive care units to save money, resources and beds, whilst providing quality care for our clients at home. So in last week's blog, I answered a question from one of our readers, Ellen. And Ellen was asking that her son is in ICU, her 36-year-old son is in ICU with ALS, and he's been on a ventilator with tracheostomy, and she wants her son to go home with BiPAP, even though he's retaining CO2. And she's asking, can he go home even though he's on BiPAP with a tracheostomy and a CO2 retainer? And I answered that question there in last week's blog, and you can click on the link below this video where you can check out last week's question. So in today's question, Myrna is asking, hi Patrik, my husband has a tracheostomy and he's been in ICU since the 6th of January, which is now coming close to 6 weeks. He's weaning off the ventilator and the tracheostomy very, very slowly. He has poor muscle tone and very poor and minimalized movement due to all the medicines he was given while he was in an induced coma. I would really like to bring him home with intensive care at home. He's getting depressed. He's not able to talk at the moment because of the tracheostomy and the ventilation. I need advice how to get him home. Is it the best option? And so forth. From Myrna. So, hi Myrna. Thank you so much for writing in and contacting us. So this is the prime example, Myrna, for how intensive care at home can improve the whole situation for your husband, for you, but also for the hospital and for the intensive care units, and provide a win-win situation. So he's been in ICU for 6 weeks. He's weaning off the ventilator very slowly by the sounds of things, which is not unusual at all because, he was in an induced coma, and with all the sedation and the pain medication he's had whilst he was in the induced coma, it takes time to wake up. It doesn't take a lot of time to lose all the muscles, which is what's happened in your husband's situation. He hasn't probably been mobilized properly, hasn't been getting out of bed yet, and of course he's losing muscle tone, and that doesn't help him to wean off the ventilator at all. And of course he's getting depressed in ICU. No natural daylight, a disturbed day and night rhythm. It's a foreign environment. Doctors, nurses making noise all the time, can't sleep, can't rest. It's not the right environment. And on top of that, it's very expensive. An ICU bed, as you're aware, costs $5,000 to $6,000 per bed day. And your husband, quite frankly, doesn't need to be there. The only thing that you haven't mentioned is whether he's on inotropes or vasopressors. But as soon as he's off inotropes and vasopressors, he can go home with a service like ours, where we send ICU nurses into the home 24 hours a day to provide a genuine alternative to a long-term stay in ICU, or what's called an ICU substitution service. We can set up home care for you, getting all the equipment ready. We're very experienced in that. We've done it, dozens of times for our clients, getting home care ready, getting a roster in place, 24-hour roster in place with the right nurses. We'll get you involved in the staff selection process. We'll only send you the nurses that you make a good connection with. What's really important at home as well, he will go back to a normal day and night rhythm. He's in his own environment, and quite frankly, he will be much less depressed because, his quality of life and your quality of life will improve big time, when you're at home. It's just your natural environment. And then at home, weaning can be done at home. We can start weaning your husband off the ventilator at home, get him out of bed on a day-by-day basis. That'll strengthen his muscles, especially his breathing muscles, because you won't get off the ventilator without strengthening the breathing muscles. So, and again, the depression usually goes out of the window once your loved one is at home, because, ICU is a very depressing environment. Coming to the funding, depending, you mentioned to me that you are in Melbourne, in Australia. Funding, an ICU bed, as I mentioned, is $5,000 to $6,000 per bed day. We can cut the cost of the ICU bed by about half, and that's a very good offer for anyone. And the hospitals are definitely interested, the ICUs are interested in, creating room for other patients. So it's a win-win situation, really. And in terms of funding, now the NDIS, the National Disability Insurance Scheme in Australia, is funding some of the home care, or most of it. And again, we can help you with all of that. So I hope that helps. The other thing that I should mention is, you mentioned that your husband can't talk. Again, we can start using a speaking valve. If they haven't tried a speaking valve, that needs to happen next. Your husband needs a speaking valve so he can start talking. And also, again, he needs to have physical therapy so he can start using his arms and legs again. Maybe he can then start using an iPad or start to write things, once his strength is back. Those are all things that need to happen. So thanks for watching, and thanks, Myrna, for asking that question, because I know this answer will help you, and it will also help some of our other readers and viewers of the videos. So if you want to find out how we can help you to get your loved one out of intensive care, including palliative care or long-term acute care, or if you find that you have insufficient support for your loved one at home on a ventilator, if you want to know how to get funding for our service, third-party funding, or if you have any questions, please contact me on one of the numbers on the top of the website at intensivecareathome.com, or just simply email me to patrik@intensivecareathome.com. That's Patrik, Patrik, @intensivecareathome.com. And I'm looking forward to talk to you then. Also, if you are an ICU or a pediatric ICU nurse, check out our career section. We are currently hiring ICU and pediatric ICU nurses for clients in the Melbourne metropolitan area, northern suburbs, Mornington Peninsula, and in South Gippsland, Victoria. We are an NDIS, TAC and DVA approved community service provider in Australia. Have a look at our full range of services on our website. We have also been part of the Melbourne Health Accelerator program in the past for innovative healthcare companies. Thank you for tuning into this week's blog. This is Patrik Hutzel from Intensive Care at Home, and I'll see you again next week in another update.